Alrighty, hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show, Serving Nerve, where we talk about whatever we want, and today we're going to be going through more fat acceptance cringe compilations, so let's just get into this.
I say my sleep schedule's bad. It is 9 a.m. and I'm just now getting done editing a video. If I go to sleep now, I'll wake up at like 5 p.m. So I'm going to take the opportunity and try to stay awake till tonight to try to reset my sleep schedule. Wish me.
That's a mood. Honestly, that's a total mood. I'm a train wreck right now with my schedule. I've been trying to rework mine as well. So it's like, I'll get up, go for a walk, do videos, edit videos, go for another walk, or work out, or something else. And then eventually I'll eat, and then I usually have to go to work, and then I come home and edit more videos, and then cram a bunch of food in my mouth, and then I crash while watching Mob Psycho 100. That's literally what I do on an average basis right now. It's literally just me in my bedroom or me in work. And I find that I'm constantly just like, let's just override the sleep schedule. Like, we don't need to sleep yet. We can just push it. And as time has gone on, my schedule has gotten worse and worse. And every now and then, I have to say, the best thing to do is just one all-nighter, then you crash early. Unfortunately, though, I now work late, so I can't even pull that off. Unfortunate, dudes. Very unfortunate. I have my sympathies for anybody who has the struggle with the sleep schedules.
I'm really sorry that I don't hate myself. I'm really sorry that I don't care.
Sorry, let me read the comment before I start dancing. We should hack slabs of blubber off of you to feed endangered humpback whales because you obviously ate 3 of them. That is just a really bad comment, honestly. I don't even see the point of these kinds of comments. Like, people will comment occasionally in my comments section and be like, making a fat joke, and I'm like, there's no point. Like, making a fat joke, you can destroy somebody's ego so much more simplistically by not even making a joke about them, just calling out something that they say that's ridiculous. That makes people way more upset way more easily. If you actually want to get to somebody, don't be mean to them like this. It just makes you look like a douche. Instead, just like, call people out on their illogical logic. But even so, now we're gonna get back to the dancing and singing.
I'm fat. It's okay.
I know people gotta be upset. You spend your whole life trying not to be a fat bitch because you think it's like the worst thing in the world. And then you see a broad like me, just a big fucking behemoth, living my best life. That's just gotta hurt.
You know, if you play up the fact that you're fat, people are gonna make more comments on it. I don't understand why people have such a hyper-focused perspective on, like, proclaiming their self-confidence while also proclaiming something that they're obviously kind of not confident about, particularly being fat or being too skinny or something. Like, if you make the commentary on it and you comment on your physical appearance and you're like, actually, this is not an insecurity of mine, it's just my body, I feel like you're kind of fueling the fire for people to think the opposite. That's just my perspective. Also, though, saying that it's a cute dress, I don't really have a reason to be mad at that fit. It's kind of a vibe.
Put a finger down, Fat Babe edition.
You know what, let's play this too, because I'm sure that I actually, in spite of not being morbidly obese, have dealt with the same things. Let's just put some fingers down, my dude.
Put a finger down if you've ever been fat shamed by a family member. Put a finger down if you've ever tried to hide a part of your body. Put a finger down if you've ever eaten less or not eaten in public because you were afraid or embarrassed. Put a finger down if you struggled to find clothes in store. Put a finger down if you've gone to extreme lengths to lose weight. Put a finger down if you've ever been fat shamed by a doctor. Put a finger down if you've opted to stand rather than sit on a flimsy plastic chair. Put a finger down if when you were young someone told you that you'd lose the puppy weight. And put a finger down if you find it hard to sit on an airplane seat or you need a seatbelt extender. Put any of your fingers down. Hi, we should be friends.
Yeah, great, we're friends. I'm not fat, but sure, let's be friends, bro. I'm a 7 out of 10 on the fucked up scale of fuckery. Like, what the fuck? Like, you don't even have to be fat to deal with this shit. Honestly, if you ever were in high school, you probably dealt with, like, a solid, like, 50% of this already. Like, it's just ridiculous. I don't know, man. I just think it's funny because it's like, people who are not fat also deal with these things, dude. Like, I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm just calling it out. I think it's funny.
Because I'm a fat babe too, and I see you. You're awesome.
Have you ever been using a treadmill and thought, this feels like torture? Well, that's because that was actually its original intended purpose. In prisons in the 1800s, they would have prisoners tread on the spokes of the mill that would either turn water or grain till it was banned for being excessively cruel in the Prison Act of 1898. And it was repackaged as a fitness device in the early 1900s.
Who cares? I find treadmills horrifying because I have no center of balance on them. I find it really difficult, and I'd rather just, like, go run outside or something, or go for a walk, or do, like, a stationary bike cycle or something, because it's just, like, way less stressful, and I don't have to be as, like, hyper-focused on moving on a treadmill. Plus, emergency stop sounds horrifying. But saying that, nowadays they are used as fitness devices. I get this person trying to be like, oh yeah, like, treadmills, I guess, are evil. Or originally they were composed as devices for torture, so they basically are torture devices now. Like, dude, like, they're used differently now. Like, look at half of the things that we use differently now than we used to use. Like, we have much higher standards for things like animal welfare, but we used to beat and shoot our dogs, bro. Like, we can say this about almost anything. We literally can say this about almost anything. I don't know. I just think it's stupid to have such a negative connotation with a foolish device that's not needed to be used for torture anymore. But whatever.
So if it ever feels like torture, it's because it is.
So I saw a creator this morning talking about kind of the burden as a fat person when you go on a walk, and like how you're worried that people, or that you'll slow people down because you need to walk a little bit slower, or you may need to walk a little bit slower. And it reminded me of a walk I went on this weekend with some family, and basically we went on a walk. I couldn't tell you how long it was, maybe 2 miles, relatively flat incline, and I was keeping pace. I was very aware of whether I was huffing or puffing, because just as a fat person you always are. And I was walking with one family member on our own, and they turned to me and they went, Hannah, are you able to cope on this walk? And I said, oh yeah, I'm fine. It's a really lovely walk. It was like in the middle of the countryside. It was really lovely scenery, and I was fine. So I was like, okay, interesting phrasing, but okay. And then when we got...
Oh, well, if you're struggling to breathe and stuff, then it might be a question if you're coping well or not. I don't know. I feel like if the conversation stops there and it's like, yeah, I'm good, then, like, you just move on. But let's just continue with this.
Back home, a family member who couldn't make it on the walk said, Hannah, like, did you cope with the walk? Were you okay with it? And I said, yeah, I did. It was fine. You know, I was fine. And this question wasn't asked to any straight-sized person who was in the group. And talking to my partner afterwards, we both came to the conclusion that they obviously felt, or they judged that based on my size and then their perceived unfitness or unhealthiness that I must have, that I would struggle on that walk. And obviously I didn't, and I think they were taken aback by that. And, you know, you might hear that and go, oh, well, they obviously care if they're asking. No, because if they did care, they would have asked outright. You know, they at the very beginning going like, Hannah, like, we're going on a 2-mile walk. It's over this kind of terrain. Do you have any mobility issues? And I could have gone, thank you so much for letting me know. No, I don't.
I don't know, man. This just all sounds like a big fuck around, and it sounds like you did well with the walk, which is great because walking's fantastic and we all love a good walk. And also it sounds like a nice vibe with the countryside. Also, though, if you're huffing and puffing, then you might be struggling with the walk. They might not have a good, like, idea of what your fitness level is. Like, whatever. I don't know. It's just, like, random friends and family crap. Like, I feel like we're just kind of picking problems with nothing. It's like, yeah, if you're a fatter person, people will assume you will not do that well walking compared to somebody else. But right at the beginning of your conversation, you did point out, yeah, I'm huffing and puffing or whatever. So it's like, whatever, man. I don't know. It's just stupid. Do your thing, prove people wrong, and live your life.
Or they could have, like, or if I did, they would have accommodated. But what they did instead is they threw me in the situation to see whether I would flounder or cope, and then asked me. So
I don't know if people would really think about it. Would you think about it, like, at the beginning? Because it sounds like they might have just been like, hey, like, well, the family member at the end is kind of a question mark right there. But I feel like, you know, throughout the walk, if they're like, hey, are you doing well? Like, that's when they'd start to notice and, like, maybe reconsider it. But I don't know, man. I don't know. Maybe they did, but I don't think they'd want to watch you, like, writhe in dismay. by not warning you prior. Like, I think it's just a miscalculation, but whatever, I don't know. I have no idea. The thing that I actually kind of am thinking about is, you know, it's obviously bothered this person so much so that they have to talk about it later because it's crossing their mind still. So that's a little bit upsetting. It's like, this is obviously bothering this person. Like, this person's obviously bothered by the experience that they dealt with in the past. So, you know, that's unfortunate. Like, it shouldn't be this bothersome to just go for a walk.
So that's not caring, that's trying to prove a point. Like, this is an ongoing issue I have with that side of the family anyway, so yeah, it was just a bit blatant. And to be kind of told that I'm a burden, even though I absolutely wasn't, but they assumed I would be, really changed the walk. It was a really lovely walk, and I'll always remember it for that instead. So that kind of sucks. So yeah, even if you're not a burden, someone will find a reason for why you are.
Yeah, don't fucking listen to them then. Here's the thing. If you find that that's actually the situation, don't pay attention to them. The real key test here is to prove people wrong when they wrong you in some kind of way. Like, if people look down upon you, prove them wrong. It's actually quite wonderful to do so, very liberating, and feeds the ego in a good way, you know? I don't know. Best thing to do for your own well-being is never to focus on the negative perspectives of others.
What is that?
Yeah, honestly, like, I've seen some weird fetish stuff. Like, weird fetish stuff online. Been on the internet a while, you know. And, I can level with what this person's perspective is regarding, fetishist content online. Particularly in a drawing regard.
I personally believe that was unnecessary.
You will learn that this desire and intention is not fulfilling. It won't hit the way it used to because you will become accustomed to.
I'm so interested in this video. I've been thinking about it for days, and I want to give the ugly girl perspective on this. And by ugly, I mean not conventionally attractive. Don't come at me for being down on myself. I own being ugly, and I think we need to reclaim ugly. So basically, this person's saying that when a girl grows up being really pretty and always getting attention from guys, and like being considered the beauty standard, she often goes for a string of relationships rather than like a bunch of casual sex.
Interesting. That's very interesting. See, I never was considered conventionally, like, pretty or ugly. I've always been very, like, average on the look scope of things and never had a focus on, like, courtship and whatnot until my later years. So when I see this kind of thing and people are talking about, like, yeah, the objectification you experience when you're younger can perpetuate you to, like, have a certain perspective on relationships or on hookup culture, it's very interesting. I have to mention one more thing, though. I think this is also based on experience. Like, if people have used you for your body before, you'll feel like, honestly, your body's kind of, like, not a big deal to use again and again. And talking to a lot of people who've had a lot more, like, you know, just a lot of hookups, open, you know, intercourseal relations with people, and also who've come from, like, abusive situations, that also kind of, like, builds the, like, cycle of, like, going out and just hooking up and hooking up and hooking up. I feel like it's like somebody devalues you, so you devalue yourself in that regard and don't take, like, relationship endeavors as serious, but I could be wrong. Another thing I want to mention is if people talk you up and ascribe value to your body or, you know, your, you know, beauty or something like that, or the way you look, then you are more likely to probably value yourself regarding, like, oh yeah, like, I'm not, like, a commodity to use. I'm obviously, like, worthy of having a good relationship. Your standards might be higher if you find that you have more value.
Somebody has had a glow up and become the beauty standard, they are more likely to sleep around because they're addicted to the male validation that they didn't receive when they were younger and find it unfulfilling. But when you grow up considered ugly and you never hit a point where men are validating you on the reg, for me, because I never had any kind of like, oh, actually somebody does want to have sex with me or whatever, like nothing. So then I started to really interrogate, like, what do I want? What is all of this? And I started to see for my friends who'd had those glow-ups, or just people who had, you know, some kind of traumas they were enacting out in their romantic and sexual relationships, it felt like so much of it was for validation, and because I was sitting outside of it, I could literally observe that and see that. And because I'd never gotten the validation, I did not know what I was missing, and so I didn't really crave it in the way that a lot of my friends did who were more conventionally attractive. Or even just like
on the cusp of being conventionally attractive. Like, you don't have to be like incredibly gorgeous to have this. A lot of people who have had sort of intermittent reinforcement, or like some people want to have sex with them, some don't, like they will have that as well. But I had nothing. Like, I cannot stress that enough. And anything that did happen to me was like so creepy that all I could be was creeped out. So because this validation wasn't really on the table for me, I started to interrogate like what I actually wanted, and I really only ever wanted a relationship. And that's just also kind of how I'm wired. Like, I know a lot of people love to have casual sex for like in a healthy way and not in a seeking validation way.
So far, I have to point this out. This person's speaking, like, in my opinion, like, I can completely level with what this person's saying. Like, I've also come from a very similar perspective. Like, I've never understood the whole concept of, like, hooking up and hookup culture, and I've never put a focus on those things, and I've also never experienced those things. So I can really level with what this person's saying. I don't know what they're gonna say next, but I don't really see, like, why they're in a cringe compilation for this. Maybe it's because they're talking about being ugly, and I don't really think this girl's ugly. Like, she's obviously overweight, which might be the argument being made or whatever, and I've heard this person talk before, and I can't remember what they were, like, talking about, something obviously in fat acceptance, but so far, I don't really think this warrants being in a cringe compilation. Like, I could be wrong, but I think this person's actually speaking, like, a decent perspective regarding their personal experience with relationship desires versus hookups. I don't know.
That was never me. I really just wanted like deep connections and love. And I think this can go either way for people who are really not conventionally attractive and never become conventionally attractive, or in my case, who are just fat forever. I think a lot of us, especially once you've waited a certain amount of time and you haven't done anything, there comes a point where you're like, well, I don't think that it's a good use of my time to just do these like casual things. And you become like not comfortable with that. So this is just me trying to explain why I never wanted any casual dealings, because that just feels to me like an opportunity for more rejection. Whereas falling in love with someone, having them see you as a whole being, and having only one partner feels a lot more, to me, authentic and achievable. But because I saw from outside the need for validation being so strong, I thought of those relationships as shallow, and I wouldn't have a chance in that sort of market.
I don't really understand why this is in a cringe compilation. Like, maybe the verbiage of being, like, fat forever or something? I don't know. Like, they're obviously making that kind of, like, little bit of commentary here and there, but their perspective's completely valid and reasonable. Like, it's not indecent at all. They're not saying anything, like, outwardly insane. So I feel like this person really shouldn't be in the compilation for what they're saying here. They're just making the commentary on, like, hookups and the value of relationships coming from different, like, points in life, and having people, like, ascribe, like, a level of, like, you know, beauty or value to you at a younger age, or, you know, whatever, and then it affecting you later in life. I don't know. I can level with this because I actually have a similar perspective, like, to this chick. Like, I don't value the idea of hooking up. And also, I never ascribed, like, a high level of value to my looks. I never in my life thought that I looked particularly enticing as an individual, you know? And there also were many points in my life where I was not considered, like, societally attractive to people. So I can completely understand what this person is saying. Like, I don't know, maybe it's just because whoever, like, saw this video was like, oh yeah, they're making a commentary on somebody who's prettier and they're not as pretty, and that's why they're, like, trying to justify why they can't score, maybe. But it's actually kind of like a pretty reasonable perspective for this person to have, so I'm like, I don't know. I can vibe with this kind of demeanor, though. I think it's a better thing to ascribe value to relationships, not getting into hookups and stuff. I feel like it ascribes a better level of self-respect, but that's just my opinion because that's where I come from. But tell me what you guys think in the comments below about this one, because I find it very interesting. So yeah, tell me what you guys think in the comments below. It has been lovely, my people, and I will see you all next time. Slater.